After over a week, there is clarity in the Kentucky governor's race. And in sports, volleyball looks to end their season on a high note at home. Newswatch starts right now. Good evening and welcome to Newswatch, your source for all news impacting southeastern Ohio. I'm Connor Kierick. Thanks for joining us. Panic at a Southern California high school after a shooter opens fire, killing 2 of his fellow classmates and injuring 3 others. The suspect currently in custody as officials search for a motive. Camila Bernal has the latest.
It's the sound that no student wants to hear.
It was like bang and then bang, bang, bang.
Just after 7:30 in the morning, local time, students at Saugus High School forced to run or hide.
We heard the 1 shot and then 4 after, and we just started running, and just all I heard was all these kids running and just screaming and calling their parents.
But some unable to escape.
Within 2 minutes at 7:40, our first units arrived on scene and encountered in the quad area of the school multiple victims.
Officials confirming 2 students died after being treated. Others remained at the hospital. The shooter also among the injured.
Detectives have reviewed the video at the scene, which clearly show the subject in the quad withdraw a handgun from his backpack, shoot and wound 5 people, and then shoot himself in the head.
Authorities continuing their investigation and combing through social media in an attempt to figure out how and why.
We will run all the leads to ground, but at this point we have no indication of any motivation or ideology.
I'm Camila Bernal reporting.
In the midst of the school shooting, a gun background check bill is blocked in Washington. Mississippi Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith blocked the bill proposed by Chris Murphy of Connecticut. The bill passed the House in February. It would require background checks on all firearm sales in the country. Under current federal law, only licensed gun dealers must perform background checks for anyone seeking to purchase a firearm. That leaves the sale of guns between individuals largely unregulated. Locally, a school district took a proactive step to combat the threat of gun violence in schools. As previously reported in July, the Warren Local School District in Washington County decided to arm certain teachers. The decisions passed the school board unanimously and was not met with much opposition. Only the superintendent knows the teachers who are armed. Now, let's take a first look at our regional weather. Adley?
Hello, I'm forecaster Adley Carwish, and right now in the beautiful night sky, it is 40 degrees with humidity at 50%. Pressure at 30.27 inches, a little high, and winds coming from the southwest at 0 to 5 miles per hour. So it's been a pretty beautiful day outside. It's pretty sunny. Only got into the mid-40s at best for most areas. We take a look right now throughout southeastern Ohio. You see Columbus at 37, New Lexington at 37, Athens at 40, Jackson at 43. So all around somewhere between the upper 30s and early 40s for the area, which is quite nice, to be honest. It's a little cold outside. Tonight, 21 degrees. Clouds will give way to clear skies. It's going to be another really cold night, but it will be a lot better than it was yesterday. We're only hitting 21, which is a lot better than yesterday. Winds coming from the west-southwest at 0 to 5 miles per hour. And coming up, we'll take a look at what's ahead, especially during the weekend. Connor, I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Adley. Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin has conceded defeat to Democratic State Attorney General Andy Beshear. The concession comes after Bevin requested all 120 counties in the state recheck the results from last week's election. That recanvass shows Beshear still ahead over Bevin.
We're going to have a change in the governorship based on the vote of the people. And what I want is to see the absolute best for Kentucky. I'm not going to contest these numbers that have come in. It isn't fair to throw that on our legislature to try to find something that there just isn't. We know of some things, but not enough to cause us to think there's going to be meaningful change.
The race is now officially over, which means we can look forward and we can move forward. It is time that we come together as a Commonwealth. At the end of the day, we are all on Team Kentucky. Whether we are Democrats, Republicans, or Independents.
President Trump campaigned on behalf of Bevin the night before the election. Some experts say the result may be ominous for Trump's 2020 re-election campaign. Former West Virginia Secretary of State will attempt to take back the position in 2020. Natalie Tennant, a Democrat, served as the Secretary of State from 2009 to 2017, but lost her election race to the current Secretary of State, Mac Warner, by less than 2%. Her campaign is centered around the accomplishments made when she held the job, such as removing business filing fees for military veterans. Registered nurses at Cabell Huntington Hospital are now part of a union. A spokeswoman for a Service Employees International Union stated that voting ended in a, quote, overwhelming majority. This means 900 registered nurses will join others represented by the SEIU. This vote comes after nurses expressed concerns about their working conditions last month. A spokeswoman for the hospital says officials were disappointed with the vote, but will begin the process to reach an agreement with the nurses. A man is arrested in connection with 2 overdoses in Morgantown. Police Chief Ed Preston announced today that Tristan Clay is charged with supplying heroin-laced vaping liquid. Authorities say officers pulled Anderson over Wednesday night and found more than 2 pounds of marijuana in his car. Officers then served a search warrant at his home and found 25 more pounds of marijuana, over 70 bottles of concentrated THC oils, and more than 300 vaping cartridges. The former Lordstown General Motors plant will now be used to manufacture electric trucks. The plant is now property of the Lordstown Motors Corporation, and they expect the new plant to be up and running within the next year. The final GM relic was taken down from the plant yesterday. The Lordstown plant has been producing vehicles for GM for 50 years. At one time it employed more than 13,000 people. It was shuttered as a part of the most recent contract between GM and the United Auto Workers. The Ohio House has passed a bill that would protect students' rights to religious expression in public schools. House Bill 164, dubbed the Ohio Student Religious Liberties Act of 2019, was passed by a vote of 61 to 31. The bill would give student religious groups the same access to school facilities that secular groups have, lift bans limiting student expression of religion to lunch or non-instructional periods, and it would abolish any restrictions on students engaging in religious expression and completion of assignments. Republican Representative Tim Ginter emphasized that the bill was aimed at being a clarification rather than an expansion.
In other words, this bill is not an expansion, but rather a clarification of those liberties already afforded our students in the Constitution, and seeks to remove ambiguity for our schools, who are often confused as to what students can and cannot do in regard to religious expression.
Critics of the bill claim the U.S. Constitution and state law already guarantee religious freedom and that school guidelines on the matter should be decided by local district officers. The Pomeroy Police Department will continue to operate, but the extent to which they operate will be scaled back for the remainder of the year. The Village Council voted on Monday to take out a $30,000 loan to fund 2 full-time officers, according to the Pomeroy Daily Sentinel. The department already cut multiple shifts, leaving the department closed during several evenings. A Trump administration ambassador will run for governor in their hometown. And the Walmart located in El Paso reopens.
The news broadcasts a violent world.
But we may be living in the most peaceful era in human existence.
An investigation of archaeology to neuroscience, Baltimore to Iraq. Can science help reduce violence?
Here are things that we could do.
We're really testing in the field.
The Violence Paradox.
We're at war with ourselves.
On Nova.
Prison is here to punish us. It's not about rehabilitating. It just isn't.
This is a full-time, total commitment. When that door closes, you're at Bard College.
It's hard, it's difficult, but it's rewarding.
I gotta prove that I'm worthy of this.
They're trying to pay back to society.
It changes your whole outlook.
I realized I learned something. That is where transformation happens. That is what stops people from coming back to prison.
College Behind Bars, Monday, November 25th at 9/8 Central, only on PBS. The Hamptons are at the very east end of Long Island.
We have some of the wealthiest people on the planet.
And right in the middle of that, we have a Native American Indian reservation.
The Southampton Town Board has made massive efforts to protect their colonial sites, but they don't make an effort to help preserve our Native American sacred sites. We have to live here together.
Conscience Point.
Being a bear takes a wide array of abilities to overcome life's obstacles. From finding food to raising a family. But bears have also found a way into our world. And with the next generation learning by example, their contact with us could be their biggest hurdle yet.
A Texas community attempts to move forward after tragedy. The Walmart where 22 people died in an August shooting rampage reopened today. John Lorink reports.
A new era begins in El Paso.
We're here to support the community, and that's what we're here, what we plan to do.
Run, Mija, run.
Just over 3 months after a gunman entered the Cielo Vista Walmart, killing 22 people and injuring others, the store is ready to welcome customers once again.
Well, I feel it's important for us to open this store for our community. Our associates have worked real hard in trying to get this tragedy out of their mind.
A 30-foot tall memorial honoring the victims will soon be unveiled on the south side of the store's parking lot. It'll replace a makeshift memorial that's been a gathering place since August. Some residents don't like that it was moved and archived for future exhibits.
I think that it's somewhat unfortunate because that had a special meaning to it.
It was only 3 months ago. Just even from being in town for 24 hours, you can still just feel in the city that the community has not recovered from it yet.
And although the area is still recovering from the shock, Walmart hopes this reopening will help with the healing process.
Through this process of rebuilding and getting the store put back together, you can see the laughters, the smiles, the applause between each other.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The alleged gunman accused in the shooting pleaded not guilty to capital murder charges last month. Utah's governor is looking at serving a third term. On Thursday, Governor Jon Huntsman announced he is entering the 2020 gubernatorial race. Huntsman posted a video about his campaign online, highlighting his previous 2 terms. The Republican led the state from 2005 to 2009, but resigned to serve as the U.S. ambassador to China under President Obama. He went on to serve as the U.S. ambassador to Russia for President Trump from 2017 to 2019. Huntsman resigned from that position back in August. Flooding overtakes Venice. That story still ahead.
And coming up in weather, we're going to take a look at the pretty nice weekend that's ahead and maybe some rain in the future. That and here's your thoughts of local interest.
We have Native people. We don't fit into the Mexican. We don't fit into the Puerto Rican. We don't fit into the blacks, and we don't fit into the whites, so we're a separate group. That Indian has to walk in 2 worlds. He's already pressured in society, much as he had war and its aftermath to it, and he struggles. He really does struggle.
Meet Pulitzer Prize-winning Native American master storyteller.
There was a house made of dawn.
N. Scott Momaday.
I am a Kiowa.
His voice had a spiritual connection to the land.
You cannot separate the Native American from the landscape. It is his spirit. And the land was very old and everlasting.
Join us for Words from a Bear.
I turn into a bear on occasion.
N. Scott Momaday on American Masters.
The Hamptons are at the very east end of Long Island.
We have some of the wealthiest people on the planet.
And right in the middle of that, we have a Native American Indian reservation.
The Southampton Town Board has made massive efforts to protect their colonial sites, but they don't make an effort to help preserve our Native American sacred sites. We have to live here together.
Conscience Point.
Art is important because it shows who we were, where we came from.
Through my art, I'm creating a more powerful woman within myself.
Inspiration is everywhere. It's important that we learn our culture, our practices. We are tied to the land. That's our blood. That's where we come from.
Hello, welcome to Newswatch. I'm Adelaide Carwish. Take a look right now. Temperatures all around the local southeastern Ohio area. Chillicothe at 39, New Lexington at 37, Columbus at 37. It was a pretty nice day outside. A lot of sun, very few clouds, but it was a little bit cooler. Most of the area only really hit the 40s here. We're going to take a look at the U.S. temp map. And we're just going to see that pretty much the eastern United States is all around pretty cold. Even Atlanta, down at Atlanta, and even northern Florida is getting pretty cold up there. Only in the 60s, even in the 50s. But you can see southeastern Ohio, we're really only in the 40s here, even upper 30s for some areas. And even if you get north, you get towards 35 degrees. Tonight, 21 degrees. Clouds give way to clear skies, so it should be quite a clear night. Another really cold night after a couple of cold nights altogether. Winds coming from the west-southwest at 0 to 5 miles per hour. It will be a little bit warmer than the nights we've had before. We won't get quite into the teens. It will only be 21, but it should be nice. We take a look all around southeastern Ohio. New Lexington, though, you will get in the teens at 19, Columbus at 20, Chillicothe at 20, and Jackson at 20. So all around, it's still in the lower 20s, and even New Lexington, you hit 19. You're gonna get to the low of 19 there. But we're going to take a look at tomorrow here, 45 degrees. It's going to be a very sunny day, almost not a cloud in the sky. It's still going to be cooler, but it will be 45 degrees. Winds coming from the northwest at 0 to 5 miles per hour. So it's looking to be a beautiful day outside. We take a look all around southeastern Ohio. See, Columbus doesn't even reach 40 at 39 degrees. New Lexington 41, Chillicothe 40, Jackson 44. So all around somewhere between even in the upper 30s to even upper 40s as Ripley hits 48, almost 50 degrees. But it will be very sunny outside, almost not a cloud in the sky. So we take a look at our weekend outlook here. Friday night, we're going to get pretty cold, 25 degrees. It'll be cold, but it will be a clear night. Saturday, 44 degrees. It'll be partly cloudy, but it will be warm. And Sunday, we get to one of our warmest days of the week, 48 degrees. It'll be sunny. It'll be a nice day. Really enjoy that day. It's going to be one of the few nice days here coming up. We see a look why we have all this clear skies and this high pressure right here. We see this cold front moving through, and you see this high pressure right here just going to move up to the area, move up to Chicago, and really just give us these clear skies, really not a cloud in the sky. And we're going to take a look at our 7-day outlook here. You can see Friday, Saturday, Sunday looking pretty good. And all through the area, Tuesday, we might actually get some snow, midst of snow and rain. We're just going to see all around the area. And if you take a look at Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to actually get back up into the 50s for the first time in a while. Almost feels like a while since it's been forever since we've been up there. But yeah, the weekend looks pretty nice outside, Connor, and it's just been one of those weekends where you're just going to enjoy fall.
So it sounds like folks will have a few more chances to experience a couple last pieces of fall.
Yeah, before winter kicks in.
Thanks, Adelaide. And people in Italy, and Venice, Italy specifically, are dealing with the city's worst flooding in more than 50 years. Italy's prime minister issued a state of emergency Thursday, which will reserve money for disaster recovery. Venice, already vulnerable to high sea levels, was hit by an exceptionally high tide Tuesday. The city's mayor blames climate change. High water damaged historic sites around the city, which will cost millions to repair. The government is building a complex flood defense system, but the multi-billion-dollar project has been under construction since 2003 and delayed a number of times. Fewer people are smoking cigarettes in the United States. That's according to a report published Thursday by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In 2018, cigarette smoking fell to a record low of 13.7% among U.S. adults. The CDC has been collecting data on smoking since 1965. The agency's director attributes the decline to public health education. The report also found cigarette smokers have become more likely to try quitting in the past 12 months. And they report that has been found that many have been successful. Antibiotics save lives, but superbugs are outsmarting them. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says drug resistance is one of the greatest global health challenges of modern time. Britt Conway has more in today's Health Minute.
Superbugs are germs capable of learning and evolving, making them resistant to the antibiotics designed to kill them. Nearly 36,000 Americans die from superbug infections every year, which is about 1 every 15 minutes. That's according to a 2019 report from the CDC, warning some miracle drugs no longer perform miracles. The agency says there are 5 drug-resistant superbugs that pose an urgent threat to global health. Genetic researchers found some germs can share their DNA with other germs, effectively teaching them how to outwit complex antibiotics. The CDC says most deaths from drug-resistant infections are caused by germs typically found in hospitals. But the report notes while superbug infections from hospitals are down from the 2013 study, infections caught anywhere else in the community are on the rise. Experts point to the overprescribing of antibiotics as a factor behind growing drug resistance. And they say the only way to prevent the rise of antibiotic-resistant infections is if doctors, patients, and policymakers work together. For today's Health Minute, I'm Britt Conway.
Antibiotics can be overused to treat infections in the animals that we eat. The CDC says 20% of all drug-resistant infections come from our food.
Hi, I'm Curtis Fader, and coming up, the men's basketball team beat Iona last night and will face their toughest opponent yet this weekend. And the Ohio women's team also hit the court last night and defeated Marshall at the Convo. Highlights and reaction coming up next on Newswatch.
The Hamptons are at the very east end of Long Island.
We have some of the wealthiest people on the planet.
And right in the middle of that, we have a Native American Indian reservation.
The Southampton Town Board has made massive efforts to protect their colonial sites, but they don't make an effort to help preserve our Native American sacred sites. We have to live here together.
Conscience Point.
Meet Pulitzer Prize-winning Native American master storyteller.
There was a house made of dawn.
N. Scott Momaday.
I am a Kiowa.
His voice had a spiritual connection to the land.
You cannot separate the Native American from the landscape. It is his spirit. And the land was very old and everlasting.
Join us for Words from a Bear.
I turn into a bear on occasion.
N. Scott Momaday on American Masters.
Being a bear takes a wide array of abilities to overcome life's obstacles. From finding food to raising a family. But bears have also found a way into our world. And with the next generation learning by example, their contact with us could be their biggest hurdle yet.
The news broadcasts a violent world.
But we may be living in the most peaceful era in human existence.
An investigation of archaeology to neuroscience, Baltimore to Iraq. Can science help reduce violence? Here are things that we could do.
We're really testing in the field.
The Violence Paradox.
We're at war with ourselves.
On Nova.
Welcome back to Newswatch. I'm Curtis Fader. The past 2 weeks have been very unfortunate for the Ohio football team as they lost their last 2 games by a combined total of 6 points. Their close losses to Miami and Western Michigan eliminated them from contention to win the MAC East, and the Bobcats will fail to make an appearance at the MAC championship game for the 4th year in a row. The Bobcats must win their final 2 games of the season to be bowl eligible and at least one more game to make Frank Solich the winningest head coach in conference history. The volleyball team is currently on a 2-game win streak and will play their final 2 games of the season in the Convo. For seniors such as Lizzie Stevens and Sarah Januszewski, their collegiate careers are coming to an end. Coach Webb reflects on their contribution to the team.
Lizzie and Sarah have been named team leaders by their teammates, and they're very steady. Lizzie is someone who's just a pretty tight emotional range, not too high, not too low, and just doesn't let the team really get off the rails, if you will. Sarah is someone who just sees the game at such a high level. She's really like another coach in a lot of ways out there.
The Bobcats will face Buffalo Friday at 7 and then play Akron Saturday at 5 for their senior night. The women's basketball team is looking for their 2nd straight win at home when they battled the Marshall Thundering Herd last night. In the first half, the Bobcats were dropping a bunch of 3-pointers. Katie Barker led the charge with 6 threes in just the first half. Ohio only led by 1 point at the half. And then the Bobcats defense came out on fire in the second half as it only allowed 16 points. Cece Hooks had herself a game with 8 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and 6 steals. She flirted with a quadruple double.
This is their. She had 6 steals at Syracuse, right? Yeah. She's. It's absurd, guys. I don't think you understand how absurd that is. There's teams that have 6 steals. She's played 3 basketball games and she's had 6 steals in 2 of them. She's instrumental in everything we do. From the 10 total rebounds, but 8 of those are defensive rebounds, right? There's 6 steals.
Hardwood. Men's basketball team will beat Iona 81-72 on the road last night. Sophomore Jason Preston had himself a game again with 27 points and 14 rebounds. He currently averages nearly a triple-double with an average of 18 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. But now Ohio must put all of their success behind them as they prepare for their greatest test. On Saturday, they will travel to play Villanova, who have won the NCAA tournament 2 out of the last 4 years and are currently ranked number 10 in the AP poll.
It's hard to win. I don't care who you're playing, where you're playing, but you want to enjoy them when you can. And the guy I worked for at St. Bonaventure, Mark Schmidt, we always used to celebrate wins because you never knew when the next one was coming. And so much goes into it, and especially when you're trying to build something up. You want these guys to enjoy and be excited about winning.
As the fall season winds down, the winter season is just picking up the slack with amazing storylines. So the Convo is going to be the place to be coming up in the near future.
Looking forward to it, Curtis. Thank you. And now out of the sports world and into space, there's a small amount of oxygen on Mars, and it's seen a spike. Don't go thinking it's proof of alien life just yet, though. NASA says it's more likely a geological process is responsible than a biological one. But they still don't know the exact cause. The new oxygen data comes from the Mars Curiosity rover's Sample Analysis at Mars, or SAM, instrument. The red planet's atmosphere is made up of 95% carbon dioxide and other gases, one being oxygen. The concentration of those gases fluctuate seasonally. NASA is still investigating these swings to learn more about what it may mean about the atmosphere on Mars. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Connor Keurig. Stay tuned for PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find out all the latest news at woub.org. Have a great night.
Support comes from Buckeye Hills Regional Council, offering services to help seniors in